Alrighty, today we're going to talk about the no contact rule for long distance relationships. Now, specifically, we're going to answer the three following questions. Will the no contact rule be effective during a long distance relationship breakup? What changes are there going to be to the no contact rule during the long distance situations? And what things need to happen so that you can overcome the long distance relationship triad? And if you don't know what the triad is, it's one of the most important aspects that go along with long distance relationships. So stick around until the end of the video so we can properly explain the concept to you. But first things first, let's talk about the no contact rule in general. Now, perhaps one of the most frustrating aspects of the no contact rule, specifically my iterations of the no contact rule, is that throughout the years we've sort of changed our official definition of the no contact rule. Originally, it was just simply this strategy that you would use where you ignore your ex, no matter the circumstance, with this intent of making them miss you. Now, this is the iteration that most people still talk about when you hear about the no contact rule. But as time went on, we found out that there's a little bit more nuance to the no contact rule. Specifically, it's not just about ignoring your ex. You can also do things to kind of show your ex that you're moving on from them, and that even makes them miss you more. That is sort of our second iteration to the no contact rule. So you can see the growth that's happening there. But our third and we believe final iteration of the no contact rule has all to do with personal growth. We actually have found that people who use the no contact rule not to get their exes back or even try to make their exes miss them, but instead to focus all of their energy and time on themselves and cultivating their own personal life and kind of getting to this place emotionally where they outgrow their ex, tend to actually have even better results when dealing with exes, meaning their exes want them back more and miss them more. And who knew? The key is to focus on yourself. And so that is the ultimate aspect of the no contact rule. Yet there's a fundamental misunderstanding in how most people look at it. Most people look at it, especially in a long distance relationship, as this period of time where you are going to ignore your ex. Yet what they should really be doing is using that period of time to focus on themselves to kind of get over their exes. And this leads us to our first big question. Can the no contact rule be effective in a long distance relationship? So the prevalent worry or fear that most people have when you're looking at the no contact rule in tandem with a long distance relationship is you're already distanced from your ex. You've gone through this breakup with your ex. You're kind of out of sight, out of mind. And while absence makes the heart grow fonder, well, sometimes the no contact rule is a little bit too much absence. And so people often worry that implementing a no contact rule will actually lose a bit of effectiveness because of the distance between the two parties. We actually found that's not the case. We find our success rate with the no contact rule is kind of universal, no matter what situation you find yourself in, because the way we try to teach the no contact rule is, yes, it's this period of time, usually between 21 or 45 days, where you are ignoring your ex, except in certain circumstances, which we talk a lot about on the YouTube channel. But it's not just that, it's all about personal growth. And so really, as long as you're keeping the main thing, working on yourself, not necessarily improving yourself, but essentially maximizing whatever potential you have inside for yourself, well, you're going to be successful at the no contact rule no matter what type of breakup situation you found yourself in. The more interesting question is, how does the no contact rule change in a long distance relationship? So when you're looking at the no contact rule in tandem with a long distance relationship, one of the things that people will often talk about is time frames. Now, we recommend 3 different time frames: the 21-day rule, the 30-day rule, and the 45-day rule. Yet, what is the perfect time frame for the no contact rule in a long distance situation? That can be a little bit complicated, and there's actually factors outside of your situation that can impact on what type of no contact length you're going to be doing. We found, though, length isn't necessarily as important as however long it takes you to get to that emotional place where you're kind of over them. And so when you're looking at changes to the no contact rule with a long distance relationship, first starting at time frame, I would say you probably want to do a minimum of 30 days, but probably even it's better to do 45 days or however long it takes you to get to that place where you've outgrown your ex. But that's not the biggest change to the no contact rule. Probably the biggest change to the no contact rule is the importance of social media. So the no contact rule, most people look at as this period of time where you're not talking to your ex at all, meaning if they reach out to you and text you and try to get you to respond, you're just simply ignoring them. You're also not supposed to reach out to them at all. But there's one little wrinkle in there, and that wrinkle is they most likely are going to be paying attention to what you're doing on social media, even if they have you blocked. Now, this is a mind-blowing thing for most people, but we have found that most exes, even if they've blocked you, will usually either unblock you to take a quick look to see what you're up to, or they'll simply use a friend's account or create a fake account to become friends with you so they can spy on you to see what you're up to. And that means whatever you're posting on social media during no contact needs to work for you. It needs to be an authentic post that kind of shows them that you are outgrowing them. And really, our understanding of secure attachments comes into play here. Real quick, I want to say that if you're new to this YouTube channel or you're trying to figure out what you should be doing to get your ex back and you're trying to learn if you even have a chance in your specific circumstance, probably the smartest thing for you to do is actually stop by our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, or take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz that can be found at exboyfriendrecovery.com. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, taking that free quiz is super easy to do. All you have to simply do is look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on the link you see there. It will take you directly to the quiz where you can fill it out and get an easy answer on what you should be doing going forward and overall what your chances look like in your specific situation. All right, so let's get you back to the video. So if you're not familiar, someone with a secure attachment pattern or secure attachment style, they're not going to exhibit any of the insecure behaviors that are typical with a breakup. So they're not going to beg for an ex back or become overly possessive. So someone who is secure with themselves isn't afraid of being themselves. And that's all we're going to ask you to do. We want you to be yourself and show how you are handling this breakup in a secure and mature way. So what's an example of the opposite of that? Someone who is insecure in how they handle a breakup and use that on social media. Now let's imagine I talk to you and I say, hey, look, you need to look secure during your no contact rule, especially when you're posting on social media. Now, for you, a secure person, you're thinking, well, I'm gonna type up this post about how you should forgive and forget. That is not a secure type of thing to do. Secure people, generally speaking, aren't gonna talk about their breakup at all. They're just gonna live their life and just show the world who they are. Insecure people are the people who are constantly hyper obsessed with the breakup. So they'll be posting things about maybe music videos highlighting sad things, or posts or quotes that highlight why you should treat someone a certain way, or what betrayal does to someone, or how love is supposed to look. That means you're thinking about it. We want to do the opposite of that. And I know this seems counterintuitive, especially when you're thinking, well, I don't want my ex to forget about me. We were in a long distance relationship. The point is, you kind of want to recreate leverage. You want your ex to almost second guess their perceptions of you. They have this perception that you're hung up over them. Give them the opposite perception. All right, now finally, what we really need to talk about is the long distance relationship triad. All right, so if there was ever a come to Jesus talk, especially when it comes to long distance relationships, this is probably it. A lot of people I find I work with who are in long distance relationships do not have the triad down. So what is the long distance relationship triad? Simply put, there are three factors that are incredibly important for you to have in order for a long distance relationship to work. So what are those three factors? Well, you need time to spend together, you need money to find a way to be together, and you need a plan to be together. In my experience, most people only have two. They have the time part, and most people have the money part down, but they don't have the plan part down. Now, I feel kind of like an expert talking about this because I actually married the person I was in a long distance relationship with for 6 months, give or take. I can't remember the exact timing. It was 7 years ago. But here's the point. I lived in Texas. She lived in Pennsylvania. That means we were roughly 1,500 miles apart. The only way for us to see each other on a meaningful basis was for someone to hop on a plane and traverse the distance. So right there, you know, it's gonna take money to buy plane tickets. It's also gonna take money to do romantic fun things, money for lodging, money for gas if you're trying to traverse it, money for car rentals. It's just gonna take money. If you want this long distance relationship to work, you need money. Most people can't afford a long distance relationship. The second thing that's important is you need time. Now, most of the time, people who are committed to having a long distance relationship will have this part figured out. And I promise I'm going to connect this to the no contact rule in a minute. They will be willing to sacrifice their time. So in my case, I was willing, because I had a mobile job, I was doing this, I could easily go up there because I had the money to do it, I had the time to do it, I could work whenever, wherever I was kind of remote. My wife or girlfriend at the time did not. She had a 9-to-5 job and she could only take off roughly once a month for like a 3 to 4 day weekend. And so our entire schedule revolved around her entire schedule. She needed time. Now, most people, if you don't have enough time to see each other, you don't have enough time to cultivate a relationship. But most people are willing to navigate those first two aspects. They're willing to spend time, they're willing to spend money to make this long distance relationship work. Where most long distance relationship fails, in my opinion, is coming up with a plan to be together. Finding a way to close the distance. Why is this the place where most people fail? I think it's because it involves sacrifice, either on your part or on your ex's part or your partner's part. I'm gonna just use myself as an example because that is my own experience. In order for our relationship to work, we both understood that we could not keep the long distance aspect forever. So one of us was going to have to move to the other person to get it to work out. Since I had a remote job, it was a simple choice that I would be the one to move up there to her. Yet it's not so simple of a choice as you think about it. Yes, it's easy to get caught up in romantic notions about how romantic it is to travel across the country for love, but really what it is me sacrificing for the relationship. I had to leave my friends, I had to leave my family. And I'm gonna tell you, even though I had an incredible supportive family that was willing to help me do this, in fact, my dad was the one to help drive me up there. The problem is, it's a little bittersweet. You know, it's fun to be in a car and it's kind of like the last hurrah as you and your dad, who you're very close to, get to the end. But it's also kind of sad because you're leaving them. And most people cannot navigate that sacrifice. Most people put it on the other person to create the sacrifice. And sometimes even if the other person is willing to sacrifice for you, if they're willing to move towards your area to be with you, that's too much. Their fearful, avoidant ways get triggered and they're kind of scared. They want to push you away. And so ultimately, I think when you're dealing with the no contact rule, not thinking about these things is to your detriment. You need to really be honest with yourself and ask if the person you're trying to get back during the no contact rule can actually navigate this triad. Because if you realize you don't have the time or you don't have the money, but maybe you have the plan, this isn't going to work. You need all three areas to work. And so the final thing I would say about the no contact rule is it's the ultimate proving ground for where you're going to ask yourself the really hard questions on if this person is worth pursuing. Because if you literally and authentically come out the other end of this and say to yourself, you know what, I'm not really sure we can make this relationship triad work, then you're better off spending your time during no contact, not with an intent of getting back in touch with your ex and undergoing the rapport building that's required to make this relationship work, but rather getting over your ex, moving on from them, being authentic about not just outgrowing them, but literally kicking them out of your life and moving on and finding someone new.